All right, let's dive in. We're taking a closer look at all things cybersecurity today with the weekly Security Dossier podcast, the February 6th episode from 2025.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. It's packed with news, trends, some career advice even, basically everything you need to know this week in cybersecurity.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they managed to cover such a broad range of topics.
Definitely. They jump right in with the DeepSeek platform,
Yeah.
the AI one everyone's talking about.
Right.
Well, apparently it's become a target. Threat actors are putting out malicious packages disguised as, like, developer tools on PyPI.
Yeah, supply chain attack, basically.
Exactly, exploiting the trust people have in those platforms. They're hoping developers just download without thinking twice.
And that's exactly what happens a lot of the time, especially with something that seems so legitimate.
Right. And get this, the account they used to upload these fake packages was created way back in 2023.
Wow.
So they were just waiting, biding their time for the right moment. That's a little creepy, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. It really shows how patient and strategic these attackers can be. I mean, think about it. It really underlines how important it is to double-check everything you download.
Absolutely. Always verify the source, no matter what. Makes you wonder how many other accounts are out there just like that one, waiting to pounce. It's a good reminder that threats can pop up anytime, anywhere.
Absolutely constant vigilance.
Now, for a story that sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie, WhatsApp was used to target journalists and activists with spyware.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
I know, right? It was developed by this company called Paragon Solutions.
Spyware is so sneaky because it works in the background, you know? You have no idea it's even there stealing your information.
Exactly. This one could access messages, contacts, location data, all kinds of sensitive stuff. It's a huge privacy violation and shows even platforms we use every day can be compromised.
Good point.
The good news is Meta, the company that owns WhatsApp, shut this campaign down last December 2024.
That's good to hear.
But it makes you think, if they're targeting journalists and activists, what about the rest of us?
Right. Is anyone safe?
I mean, we live in a world where everything we do is online. Our digital footprint is huge, which means more risks.
For sure. Digital security is becoming more important than ever for everyone, not just like high-profile individuals.
So what can we do? I mean, are we all just sitting ducks?
Well, not exactly. There are definitely things you can do. Being careful about what links you click, using strong passwords, and keeping your software up to date. Those are all simple but really effective steps you can take.
Okay, good to know. All right, shifting gears a bit now, a report from VulnCheck found that exploited vulnerabilities increased by 20% in 2024 compared to the year before.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah, and what's even more concerning is almost 24% of those were exploited before they were even publicly disclosed. Zero-day vulnerabilities, they're called.
So no time to patch them before they're already being used.
Right, it's a huge challenge, like trying to fix a leak when the dam's already broken.
So what can be done? How do we fix this?
Well, it's a shared responsibility. Developers have to prioritize secure coding and patching quickly. But users need to do their part too, keeping their systems updated and practicing safe browsing habits.
So it's a two-way street. Got it.
Now let's head over to the UK, where the government is doing some interesting things regarding AI security. They've got this new AI cybersecurity code of practice.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. What is exactly? Like guidelines for AI security.
Exactly. It's basically a set of guidelines to address all the unique security risks that come with AI systems. They outline 13 key principles, from building secure systems to responsible data disposal, you name it. It's really great to see them taking such a proactive stance, especially with AI becoming such a big part of our lives.
Absolutely. It's great they're acknowledging it. Can you give us a little more detail about those principles, though? What are some of the most important ones?
Well, two that really stand out to me are the emphasis on evaluating potential threats and making sure there's human accountability for AI systems.
That makes sense. It's not like AI is inherently secure, right? Right. We need to constantly be assessing potential vulnerabilities and remember that humans are ultimately responsible for the decisions AI makes.
Good point. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
promoting innovation while also making sure it's done responsibly. Speaking of innovation, the weekly security dossier also discussed using LLMs, large language models, for creating sophisticated honeypots.
Yeah. Honeypots have always been an interesting part of cybersecurity, luring attackers in so you can study their tactics.
Right, exactly. And now with LLMs, they're even more effective.
Yeah, how so?
Well, they highlight this system called Dossier. It uses AI to simulate a real system so security teams don't have to do it manually.
No more setting up fake users and all that.
Exactly, makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And there are other examples too, like Gala, HoneyLM, and Velmaze, each with their own unique approach to using LLMs. It really shows how AI is being applied creatively to improve security.
Wow, so it's like having a virtual security guard that's always learning and improving.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of learning, they mentioned a free LinkedIn course called AI Product Security,
Hmm.
all about the foundations and how to be proactive with AI security.
Sounds like a great resource, especially with AI becoming more and more important in product development.
Definitely. Understanding those security implications is crucial for everyone.
Absolutely. You know, the host of the show also recommended another podcast, Risky Business, to stay up to date on all things cybersecurity.
Risky business. Okay, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, if you're interested in the field, it's worth listening to.
And for a little something different, they ended with
Mm.
Career and Leadership Tip of the Week. And guess who it's from?
Who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Aha, that's unexpected.
I know, right?
Okay.
But, it just shows you can find good advice in the most random places.
What did he have to say?
Well, he talked about the importance of trusting yourself, not being afraid to break some rules, not letting failure get you down, ignoring the haters, working hard, and staying hungry and foolish.
Wow, those are surprisingly relevant to cybersecurity.
Right. You have to think outside the box, be willing to challenge conventions, and never give up.
Absolutely. Those principles apply to any field where you want to succeed. It's pretty inspiring to see how such simple ideas can have such a big impact.
So it's like getting a pep talk from the Terminator himself, tailored specifically for cybersecurity.
Exactly. And it reminds us that while technical skills are important, it's those human qualities like resilience, creativity, and self-belief that really set you apart.
So to sum up this first part of our deep dive, we've covered a lot of ground: supply chain attacks, spyware, proactive measures like the UK's AI security code, and even LLM-powered honeypots. It's a complex landscape out there, but with awareness and the right tools, we can navigate it safely.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how interconnected everything is. Malicious packages targeting AI platforms, needing guidelines as AI becomes a tool for both defense and attack. It's all part of this ever-changing world.
It's a constant battle, right? Those trying to exploit weaknesses versus those defending against them. But just knowing about these threats is a huge step towards mitigating them.
Absolutely. And as we go forward, I think it's crucial to consider the bigger picture. How will things like the advancements in AI change the future of cybersecurity? That's something we'll delve into more deeply as we continue our deep dive.
That's a really good question. And honestly, I think everyone in cybersecurity is trying to figure that out. AI is moving so fast, it's hard to say for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting and scary at the same time.
It is. AI has the potential to be a huge help in cybersecurity. We're already seeing that with things like AI-powered honeypots.
Right.
But at the same time, it's giving attackers new, more powerful tools.
So it's a double-edged sword, kind of. AI is the solution and the problem.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the main thing in cybersecurity going forward. It's a really interesting challenge, and I think we need to start thinking about security in a whole new way.
What do you mean by that? Well, in the past, cybersecurity has been mostly reactive. We find vulnerabilities, patch them, and stay ahead of the attackers.
Right.
But with AI, it's getting harder to do that. The attacks are just too fast and too complex to keep up with.
So we need to be more proactive.
Exactly. We need to build security into systems from the very beginning. Think about how to make systems that are more resistant to AI attacks.
Yeah.
How can we use AI to figure out and stop threats before they even happen? Those are the questions we should be asking.
So, like, we need to up our game, play chess instead of checkers.
That's a great way to put it. We need to be thinking several steps ahead, like you would in chess, trying to predict what the attacker will do and having a plan to counter them.
So what does that mean for people who want to get into cybersecurity? What skills will be most important in this AI-driven world?
That's a question I hear all the time, and for good reason. Technical skills are obviously super important.
Of course.
But I think the skills that make us human are just as important, things AI can't replicate.
Like
Critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, being able to see things from different angles, notice patterns others miss, come up with new solutions. Those are the things that will make someone stand out, especially with AI becoming so common.
So cybersecurity pros of the future will need to be like part tech wizard, part creative genius.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty unique mix of skills, and that's what makes this field so exciting and dynamic, in my opinion.
It does sound like a career that would keep you on your toes.
For sure, and that's something I really love about it. You're always Learning, adapting, and pushing the boundaries. Never a dull moment.
You know what else I thought was interesting about this episode? It really showed how global cybersecurity is.
Mm.
They talked about threats from all over the world, the UK's approach to AI security, even career tips from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's, originally from Austria.
You're right. Cybersecurity is everywhere. It doesn't stop at borders. It's a problem that everyone needs to work together to solve. And I think that's what makes it so interesting. It's not just about the tech. It's about people working together, finding solutions that work for everyone.
It's about protecting the whole connected world.
Right. Exactly. It's a responsibility we all share. Whether you're a cybersecurity professional, a software developer, or just someone who uses technology every day.
Going back to the podcast episode, was there anything else that stood out to you?
I thought the discussion about how threats are always changing was really insightful. We tend to focus on the newest malware or hacking techniques, but things are constantly evolving. Today's big threat might be tomorrow's old news.
That's kind of unsettling. How do we stay ahead of something that's always changing?
By being adaptable, by being willing to learn and change, by questioning our assumptions about security, the minute we think we have it all figured out is when we become vulnerable.
So always be learning, always adapting.
Exactly. And it's about creating a culture where everyone is aware of security, not just within companies, but in society as a whole. We need to start thinking about security as something we're all responsible for, not just the experts.
That's a powerful message.
Right.
And super relevant in today's world where everything's connected. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say this. The future of cybersecurity is unpredictable, but it's also full of possibilities. If we stay proactive, create a culture where everyone cares about security, and constantly learn and adapt, we can handle whatever comes our way and make the digital world safer for everyone.
It really is, It's easy to focus on the negative side of things, all the threats and risks out there, but it's important to remember the positive side too, all the innovation and advancements in cybersecurity.
Mm.
Like we've seen with those AI-powered defenses and governments taking proactive steps, it's encouraging.
Absolutely. And this episode does a good job, I think, of showing both sides. They don't downplay the seriousness of the threats, but they also highlight how creative and resilient the cybersecurity community can be.
Speaking of creativity, I was thinking about those LLM-powered honeypots we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that AI can create these decoys that learn and adapt, and we can study how attackers behave. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's a perfect example of how AI is changing the game in cybersecurity. Not only are these honeypots better at attracting and analyzing attackers, but they also free up human security teams to focus on, the bigger picture, the more strategic stuff.
Yeah, like having an AI security guard that never stops learning.
Exactly. And it really shows how AI can boost our capabilities in cybersecurity, make us more effective.
But like we talked about before, AI is, well, it's a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or bad. Which brings us to, I think, the biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive. The future of cybersecurity is tied to AI. It's going to influence both the threats we face and how we defend against them.
Absolutely. It's not just about understanding the tech behind AI. It's also about thinking about the ethical implications, how it could be misused.
That's right. We need to have these conversations now, especially as AI gets more powerful and widespread. What are the boundaries? How do we ensure it's used responsibly? These are big questions we need to be thinking about as a society.
Definitely. We can't just embrace AI without thinking about the potential downsides.
Exactly. We need to look at it critically, acknowledge the benefits, but also be aware of the risks.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main message you want to leave our listeners with when it comes to AI and cybersecurity?
I'd say this. Stay informed, get involved, and be proactive. Keep learning about AI and how it impacts cybersecurity. Participate in the discussions about the ethics of it all. And most importantly, take steps to protect yourself and your data, especially with the threats constantly changing.
That's great advice. And I just want to add that cybersecurity isn't just the responsibility of experts. It's something we all need to care about and take seriously.
I completely agree. Everyone has a part to play in making the digital world a safer place.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us on this exploration of cybersecurity. It's been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, we hope you found this insightful and engaging. We encourage you to keep learning and stay ahead of the curve in this ever-evolving world of cybersecurity. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep learning.